Hello and welcome to the Arise interview. 60 minutes of big questions about the big stories from the news and beyond, with fresh insight and critical analysis. I'm Charles Anyegolu. Coming up in the next hour, Nigeria and Africa, are you ready for this? It must be the weekend, and as the American Idol tour bus rolls into Arise News, whilst observing social distancing, of course, we speak to a real American Idol, figuratively and literally. His name is Uche. He's a Nigerian American and he's blown everyone from Katy Perry to Lionel Richie, Rihanna to Bruno Mars off stages across the US with his voice and his swagger. The unique, the Uber Uche, Unbound on Arise News. And later, the poetry of the pandemic, sobering, inspirational, curative at a time of spiraling uncertainty. The coronavirus crisis has begotten a new composition from one of Africa's most celebrated performance poets, Dike Chukwumerije. We'll speak to him about imaginative verse in the midst of the lockdown in a moment. Now, he can sing and he can dance. He's got talent, grace, professionalism, and dedication. He's got it all. That's how one top entertainment analyst described the Nigerian-American star Uche, who stormed into the US pop universe with his showmanship and his mastery of movement and song. Every step seems precise and fluid, in a true master in motion. Not my words, but the words of a dedicated fan. Take a look at the reaction to one of his performances on American Idol from Katy Perry and Lionel Richie.
Wish I could hurt you back. Life will teach you to go if you could and get me back. You're the one who's gonna lose.
Figure I'm the bad guy, cause I can learn to trust love. Figure you say sorry once and you think that's enough. I got a lineup of girls and a lineup of guys begging for me just to give them a try. Figure I'm willing to stay, cause I'm sick for your love. I wish I could hurt you, but love, what would you do if you couldn't get me? You're the one who's gonna lose. Something so special, something so real. Tell me how it what did you feel if you couldn't get me back? Oh, that's what I wish that I could do. To you.
And I'm delighted to say that the man you saw his blistering performance in that video, the American Idol alumnus, Uche, joins me now from his home in Houston, Texas. Great to see you, Uche, and thank you very much indeed for giving us your time this afternoon. So a member of the new school of chart toppers then, eh?
Hey, what's good, fam? I'm doing good. I guess so. How you doing over there?
Well, we're doing very well. It's warm here. The coronavirus is still just creeping in, so we're not quite as dire as things are in America. But we'll talk a little bit about that later on. Let's first of all talk about you, a lot of people, as we saw in that video, mesmerized by your dancing, but also the extraordinary power of your singing and your voice. I mean, how does that resonate with you when you see, you know, famous people like Katy Perry, Lionel Richie, Shaggy, Bruno Mars, etc., apparently overwhelmed by what they see of you and in you?
Honestly, I don't know how to feel. I think I've gone I've gone a long time without anybody really caring what I did on stage, if that makes any sense. So it's kind of overwhelming. I haven't really had the chance to kind of sit down and think about it, but it's definitely an honor, because those are some people that I have super looked up to. My friends have always just called it like, Uche, you're extra, like you're just extra. So I always just thought I was just extra. So I didn't, to be praised like that for just pretty much being myself on stage, is really cool. And it's nice to know that I can really just go on stage and be ridiculous and just be myself and ooze just a lot. And, you know, people can receive it, because I feel like the stage is the one place where I can really be myself. Like, I can't go to the supermarket and jump on the counter and start busting out singing and spin on my knees and stuff. But I can do that on stage, and people will pay to see it. So that's dope.
Wish I could hurt you back. Life will teach you to go if you couldn't get me back. You're the one who's gonna lose.
Figure I'm the bad guy, cause I can't learn to trust love. Figure it's you. Say sorry once, and you think that's enough. I got a lineup of girls and a lineup of guys begging for me.
Sorry there, Uche, but we needed to see a little bit more of that brilliant performance. There was quite a big sort of cry in the gallery here, so we thought we'd play a bit more and talk with you some more and play some more. I suppose what stands out for many people watching that video, I mean, what stands out about your performances is how natural and how fluid they are. I mean, how did you get to be that way so early in your career?
Well, I didn't know this until I visited Nigeria this past Christmas, because I had never really known where any of my musical gifts came from singing to performing dance side. But when my father is from Udwala and my mother's from Abuja, and my dad hasn't really been around my whole life, so I don't really know much about my father's side. So when we visited Nigeria, my mom reached out to my father's side of the family, and we visited and we met with my uncle and my aunts and my cousins, and they sat down and we were all talking, and they were telling me how my grandpa, who's passed away, used to be like the performer and the singer of Uruala, like him, and he would have all my uncles be the backup dancers, and they all have incredible rhythm and musical talent. And my entire life, I had no idea where that part of me came from. And so I found out just a couple months ago that that's where all of that came from. Like, on my dad's side, they were all performers. I mean, before they became doctors and stuff.
I like that, because I was going to say they won't be Nigerian parents if they don't, or Nigerian relatives if they're not all doctors, lawyers and engineers. But now that you're talking about yourself, I mean, I was going to get to that a bit later, your sort of background. Tell us a bit more. I mean, you are Nigerian American, born in the US and presumably brought up in the US.
Yeah, I am. My parents moved over here when they're about my age now, and they had me in Houston, and we moved to Minnesota. I was the only person that looked like me up there, and then we moved back down to Houston. And I mean, yeah, I'm supposed to be a lawyer right now or a doctor, but I think God did his thing, because as I started to grow up and my talent started to show, my mom started to take it more and more seriously. And as opportunities started to come, as checks started to come, as the crowd started to get bigger, my mom was like, oh, okay, you know what? I will allow you. I will allow it. And so she just kind of, she gets excited every time I get on the stage. And she sees, her thing is, she said she never wants to get in the way of God's purpose for my life. And so she's all on board. She's my biggest fan.
Well, I think that's what's brilliant about all this, because, I mean, I think that just watching you on stage, that if you put your hand to some of the more sort of professions that Nigerians tend to go for, lawyers or doctors or whatever, I think you'd do just as well. But I've seen some of your interviews, Uche. You're usually very chatty and friendly and relaxed, as you are now. I mean, do you get all sort of serious and bossy when it comes to things like rehearsals and the business of your career?
You know what? That's a real good question, because yes, I do. It's because that's no time to play. When it's time to rehearse, and it's kind of a fight within myself, because I'm like a very loving person. I'm a Cancer. I'm very sensitive to people and their emotions and their feelings. But when it's time for rehearsal, sometimes people be playing with you, and it's like, I know how I want something to go. Let's do it. And if you're not doing it, okay, well, we're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna get it done, because it's gonna get done. So I've had to kind of learn how to kind of step into that, because I naturally just want to give everybody a hug, but hugs don't necessarily make #1 records all the time. So and so I've had to learn how to do that. And Lionel on the show, he had an interview. He said you have to put all that nice stuff away when it's time to rehearse. You could do that on the show whenever, but when it's time to rehearse, it's time to rehearse and get it right, because this is the only chance you have to get it right. So yeah, no, for real, that's a battle within me.
Well, I have to say, you certainly get it right. But I'm going to ask you to stay with us, Uche. I mean, I'm really enjoying talking with you. You seem like a very approachable person, as well as being obviously a very talented young man. Stay with us. You're watching the Arise interview. Plenty more still ahead as we continue our chat with the explosive American Idol alumnus, Uche. Stay with us.
Listen to me. After running so late, I'll be away from you and me. Yeah.
Welcome back to the Arise interview. I'm Charles Anyegolu. Now, he's unquestionably one of today's top up-and-coming pick of the pops in America, the unimaginably talented American Idol alumnus Uche. His unabashedly magnificent performances at the American Idol show stood out against the amazing roster of standout performers. But guess what? Uche managed to bang the Nigerian American drum a little more. In spite of coming up against many formidable and implacable adversaries, his simply sublime voice and on-stage strut took America's breath away. Well, Nigerian and African audiences are slightly tougher and possibly more demanding. So let's see if this continent's hunger will be sated by a single osculation from this talented Nigerian American. Here he is in performance, the terrifically terrific Uche. The brilliant Uche in his element there on American Idol. And he's still with me from his home in Houston, Texas. Thank you very much indeed for staying with us. Now, a lot of young, talented people tend to be like a sponge, watching, learning, imitating. Michael Jackson learned by observing the likes of Fred Astaire, Jackie Wilson, James Brown, Sammy Davis Jr., etc. Are you sort of like that also? And if so, who are your big idols? I mean, who knocks you out, so to speak?
Wait, hold on. Can I say something real quick? Bro, you have the best TV voice. I wish I sounded like that. You sound so perfect for what you do in TV. It's like, hello, and you are watching. I love that. Okay. So wait, to answer your question, sorry. I just was thinking about it the whole time you were talking. I was born in Houston, grew up in Minnesota, and I didn't really have any type of decent music taste till like people started introducing me to stuff when I turned like 16. I was just listening to what was ever on the radio. I would listen to whatever my parents put on, like Awilo or whatever. Awilo. Anyways, and but when I know I was always kind of drawn to artists who would give a show. I was drawn to Michael. I was drawn to Janet. I was drawn to Beyonce. But when I turned like 16 and 17, I knew I wanted to do music for real, but I hadn't seen an artist like me, or at least I thought that I hadn't seen one like me. So I didn't know where I would fit, where would be my niche, who could I emulate kind of. Because all the R&B singers, which, R&B, they're like trying to make your panties drop or whatever. And then there was the rappers, and I'm not a rapper. I'm kind of weird. And so I got introduced to Bootsy Collins just in a passing conversation with this guitarist that I knew. I was like, who's an artist you think I'm like? And he's like, you should look up Bootsy Collins. So I looked up Bootsy Collins and I went down a rabbit hole, found Bootsy Collins, I found George Clinton, I found Rick James, I found Prince, I found, James Brown. I found all these artists that I finally was able to attach myself to and who I wanted to be, if that makes any type of sense. And then it was like an epiphany, like, oh, this is who I am. And within the mass of all these guys is Uche somewhere, because they are different. They are boisterous. They're bold. You don't know what's going to come out of their mouth. You don't know what they're going to do on stage, but you know it's going to be hot fire. And I related to that, and it was really, really nice to see that I wasn't in such a dark gray area when it came to trying to do something in music, because there were people like me before me who did this and who were very successful. Like all the people I named ended up being legends. And so those are the people that I look up to, that I study, that I watch how they moved, how they, how they use the stage and their shows. Those are my guys. When I'm confused and I don't know how to do where I'm going to take something, I just go back and do a little bit more homework on those guys, and I feel right at home.
Well, I have to say that's absolutely brilliant. And just listening to you, I mean, you've taken me back, actually, because, I mean, Bootsy Collins, I was going to talk about that a little bit later, because obviously you've just released a single with him. But, I mean, people like Bootsy Collins, Funkadelic, George Clinton and the Mothership Connection. I mean, these are people who, as you said, are legends. And I think that you're very wise to learn from people like that. But let's talk about your American Idol experience. I mean, how did you come to be on that show? I mean, that's one of the biggest shows in America.
It was honestly, let me not lie and like pretend it was this big thing. That getting on that show was not the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life. I don't know why it kind of just fell from the sky and into my lap, but it really just kind of fell from the sky and into my lap. And it was like, okay, this is what we're doing for the next 2 years, pretty much. What happened was I had just graduated college. Yes, your boy has his degree, and I had to. My parents weren't going to let me not get my degree. And I didn't know what I was gonna do. And so I saw this post on the internet. It said looking for great singers. I submitted some videos of me singing. I got an email back saying this happens to be American Idol. We'd love to audition you, because you have to do a few rounds of auditions before you see the judges. And so I went to my audition with the producers and the casting team. I went in there. I was just myself, like y'all saw, but in the span of a little room in a hotel, whatever, with the table. And I did my audition, and I was ridiculous. I was like jumping on the tables, jumping off the tables. I was like rolling on the ground. Like I was just, giving a show without all the lights or the band or the mic or the crowd or the stage. Pretty much I looked ridiculous, but I think they got it because what happened was I got a call back from the casting director that I was working with, and she said they greenlit me off my first audition to be on the show. And other people I heard had like 3, even 4 rounds of auditions before they were greenlit to audition for the judges to be on the show. So I was definitely blessed in that aspect to have it be so quick, you know what I mean, to hop on there. But the easy part was getting on there. The hardest part was staying on there. That's where the work came in. That's where, the grinding and the tears and the prayers up to heaven every 5 minutes was coming in, because everybody was so good. I don't know if you were seeing like what the critics were saying, but people were saying our season was like one of the best seasons that ever been. So it was a lot. It was hard to stay in the game, but it made me push even more and do things that I never knew I could do, like what y'all saw.
Well, I mean, it was that is very memorable season 17, and I mean, you certainly stood out, and I think the confidence of your performances, I think that's what really got quite a lot of people. But then you were telling us about your connection to Nigeria and Africa today. You recently, reasonably recently visited Nigeria. I mean, Nigerian Afrobeats music is pretty dominant right now, not only across Africa, but in the West as well. Everyone from Janet Jackson and Beyonce, Jay-Z, and so many other international stars are sort of mixing it, sampling it, playing some of it, collaborating with Nigerian and African Afrobeat musicians. Do you know much about Afrobeats music? I mean, if so, have you met any of its protagonists?
I do. My cousins and live in Lagos, they actually work with a few Afrobeat artists. I've been listening to a lot of Odunzi, and he did a collaboration with Ray. I've always been a fan of Yemi Alade, and I love that it's taken over the way it is. Like, we're going international with our music, and it's fire. And the one thing that I love about it, I was talking about this with my best friend, is that no matter who tries to emulate it or do it or take it this way or that way, like, it's always gonna be ours. Like, it's always gonna be ours, because Afrobeats music, you can't, if you're not doing it right, then it's not gonna be right. You know what I mean? And I feel like we're the only people who can really do it right, because it's in our blood. And so I'm so proud of us and for making that happen. And I'm so glad that it's going across the world like it is. Like, everybody wants to be, It's so dope. It's so dope. I think it's amazing. I think it's so cool.
Well, actually, I think you do a pretty good job if you were to take on Afrobeats, I mean, and sort of bring out your own version. But it's early days yet. I mean, I think you've got a long career ahead of you. And there's so many ways that you could take it and so many things that you could do. And I'm pretty sure that all that will be welcome if it does happen. But stay with us. You're watching the Arise interview. Plenty more still ahead as we continue our chat with the superbly talented American Idol alumnus, Uche. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Arise interview. I'm Charles Anyagulu. Now, in spite of the coronavirus pandemic, it's been a busy year for the up-and-coming Nigerian-American performer Uche, who quite simply dominated American Idol Season 17 with his electrifying performances. After completing the season and the nationwide American Idol live dates and catching the attention of some of the biggest stars in America, Uche has embarked on a solo career, hooking up with the best of them. He's teamed up with the Grammy Award-winning king of funk, Bootsy Collins, and together they've got a new single out titled Whatever. Take a listen.
Don't hurt 'em, Bobble.
Baby, I'll do whatever it takes. I can trip overseas if you want me to. Dallas, Tokyo, Italy, whatever you want. It's you. Baby, I can't remember having anyone before you. So no, I throw in a loose, get that. Chilling out, I can hit the top of my car, looking up, staring out up to the stars, make a wish. I got it, it's yours.
I was going to say you should see Uche on the big screen, and there he is. We've got you on the big screen, mate, grooving away, and that's the way it ought to be. Let's howl in appreciation as we welcome back to the show the luminescent Uche, who is with me from his home in Houston, Texas. And I mean, Uche, it's just brilliant watching you there, because you won't believe this, but it's having the same effect on people in the studio here. Tell us about that piece of music and how it came about.
Okay, so that song is called Whatever, right? And my producer actually brought it to me while I was on the show still. And so we were kind of working on it back and forth. That song has gone through, I don't even know how many versions, like 6 versions. That's like the 6th or 7th version of that song. And so we were trucking away at it. And then Bootsy hit me up randomly on Twitter and said that he wanted to be, used down. And so we've been working. And then one day me and Bootsy were just in the studio with my producer, and Bootsy was like, hey, let me hear that track that you say is going to be your single. Let me approve it. He has to get his co-sign. So you going to do this funk? And let me make sure it's the funk. And so Bootsy listened to it. Bootsy said he loved it. And Bootsy was like, look, let me, I'm gonna introduce you on the record. So I was like, so he said, so that's why he's at the beginning introducing me to the planet. And he said, I want to be the one to introduce you on your first single. And so that's pretty much how it all came about. And so it's available all over wherever you listen to music, if it's on Spotify or YouTube or iTunes, wherever you listen, the song is there and it's called Whatever. Let me know what you guys think of it, honestly, for real. Honest feedback, okay? I got a thick skin now, okay? I've been judged and critiqued to the ground. So let me know what y'all think. If you love it, if you love it, not all the way love it, let me know and just message me on Instagram or on Twitter or on whatever. Follow me on UCHE. I know my Africans, we know how to spell it, but for the rest of us, the rest of y'all, it's UCHE, Uche Sings, on Instagram, Twitter, everywhere. And DM me. I've been real good. I ain't doing nothing but sitting in my bed. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna respond to y'all's messages. So I've been good about that. I'm bored. So let me know what y'all think, for real. And so it's out, and I love it. I love it. It made me want to go to the club, which I can't do right now. So.
Well, that's brilliant, Uche. And I can tell you this, I was going to crack a joke about the music, but I'm afraid I just can't. It's lovely. I mean, I listened to it just now. I was going to say, oh, we're going to throw it in the rubbish bin, but no, that's not true.
The shame.
That's not
you know
true.
what? I'm leaving. I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
No, to be honest, I think that would have been a very obvious lie. I mean, the music is absolutely superb, and I'm pretty sure that the more people hear it, the more they're going to get into it. But I mean, I would imagine that in these sort of weird times of lockdowns and restrictions and, you know, stay-at-home orders and things, I mean, it would soothe your fans, you know, hearing your great voice. You know, it'll help them bring a sense of sort of normality to their lives.
Oh, would it? Would it do all that? It would have cured. Would have cured everything, all the diseases too. My voice gonna cure Corona. Yes. I mean, I've been doing a lot more on social media, like I said, than I have normally. And then, like I'm normally on social media. You know how your phone tracks how many hours you've been on using it? My stuff has spiked up. My phone's trying to call an intervention. Like, get off, go do something. But I've been a lot more creative since this quarantine has started. It has been really weird. I've been busting out like content and covers and different ideas like every 2 days, like just posting, you know, like using my voice in weird ways, doing a cappella stuff, doing random cover, like full music videos in my bed. You know what I mean? Just being weird. But it's actually been fun. You know, you got to make lemonade out of lemons. So this is what we got to work with. We got a whole pandemic, and the world isn't going to necessarily fully stop. So, and my creativity is never going to stop. So I got to use it. And so I've been posting some very interesting things on my Instagram in terms of covers or songs or different weird ideas, and on my YouTube channel as well. So y'all check that out too and let me know what you think. But it's been fun. Like last night, like I didn't go to bed. I can't lie. I didn't go to bed till like 4 a.m. I knew I had this interview in the morning, but when I tell you, I kid you not, last night from 1 a.m. to 4 a.m., I wrote almost 20 songs. And that's never happened to me. I guess I was like touched by an angel, but like melodies and lyrics were just pouring out of me like boom, 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 boom. So I just pulled up all the beats I had and was just writing. I didn't want to stop till like, you know, because you never know which one's going to be that second hit. You know, we need a second one and a third one and a fourth one. But yeah, it's just the quarantine has really like kicked up my creativity, and a lot of my creative friends have said the same thing.
Well, you've actually answered the question I was going to ask you, because I was going to say, is there any cheering silver lining at all to this pandemic that you see? But clearly it's inspired you to write a lot more songs, and that in itself is quite positive. But of course, the sweeping effects of lockdowns and all that sort of thing, I mean, that obviously has huge ripple effects for people in your industry. I mean, you know, who make a living producing, performing, and distributing entertainment.
Yeah, it does. It does. But I was talking to my sister the other day, and she said this, you know, she'd be so wise sometimes. And she's my youngest sister, but she be kind of wise. And we were just talking about how, like, you know, maybe any other time in our lives, you know, we have so many things that separate us and make us different and kind of spread people apart. But I think one of the benefits, I know this is not a great situation, but it's nice that now, no matter if you're rich or poor, black or white, where you come from, everything in between, we have one thing in common, and that is this situation. Like, no matter the entire planet, all 11 billion of us are dealing with this thing together. And if anything has brought us closer together like this, I mean, it's not the greatest situation to curate it, but I think it's kind of cool that we all have something in common right now, because we're so used to being so separate and picking little things about us to make us different from each other. And I don't know, I think it's really cool. But in terms of the music, I'm really just looking forward to getting back out there and being able to go perform, and you know what I mean? And I'm looking forward to being able to go to the club again, but we don't have to dig into that. But
Well, I
it's
mean,
gonna be tough.
you've got presumably, I mean, obviously you've got a lot of music that is in the works. I mean, you said you were writing a lot of songs and so on. Do you know what next is, what music is coming out for you next?
Yeah, I got an album coming out. It's gonna be called The After Party. And so that's gonna be coming out probably in the summer. We've had to push that back because of all of this nonsense, but whatever. So we have the After Party album that's gonna be coming out. And I'm also putting out a documentary. So I'm excited for you guys to see that. It's just gonna be kind of chronicling my time after Idol and everything that I've kind of had to go through, really real and raw, because it's definitely a journey even after, because I'm just getting started. Like this is the beginning, you know, of something really, really tremendous and great. So I really wanted to capture almost like my infancy.
Well, I mean, when the documentary comes out, do let us know. I mean, we would be happy to play a clip of it. But I mean, we're getting towards the end of the chat, which is rather regrettable. But having got through all of what you've got through, I mean, you've been through American Idol very successfully. You've become a star in your own right. You're recognized everywhere. What tips do you have for people who want to do what you've done and achieve what you've achieved? And you've got about 60 seconds.
There's two main things, but if I don't have enough time, the first one is to really just find out who you are as an artist. I think that's what really kept me on my straight and narrow path, knowing that Bootsy and George and Rick James were my people. That kind of helped me curate every decision according to that, because it'd be very easy to see somebody else doing something and kind of trying to steer that way. That's not necessarily that's not you, you know, that's them, and they're gonna do it better than you maybe. But if you stay in your lane, you're gonna kill your lane, because that's your lane, that's what you own, that's what you've been doing since day one, those are your strengths. And so I would say to find out who you are as an artist, do your history like I did, and you'll find yourself in the legends of the past and the music of the past, and then you can make it now. And then also just be ready to do some mental gymnastics, because it's not easy whenever there's a lot of eyes on you and a lot of opinions.
Uche, thank you very much indeed. Uche, of course, the superbly talented American Idol alumnus, talking to me from his home in Houston, Texas there.